Hi, I'd like to introduce you to Buer, aka a demon, who actually doesn't want to even be known as a demon. Because as he says, it's complicated. Welcome to my series called Practicing with Energies, and if you haven't seen them already, you're in for a treat because there's over 30 different energies that people have suggested, and they're at the top of my page in the saved folders called Practicing with Energies. And for everyone who's new, hi, I'm Nicole. I'm an energy coach, mentor, and artist. I see energy as a way of expressing artistry, and that your whole life is basically a opportunity to make art. So not only am I helping to show a new way for people to learn about artistry in a different way, and also expression of their life in a different way, but also spiritually it's different as well, because most have like things that they're supposed to do, but actually it's all about learning about who you are. Deep. So back to Buer, who is the 31st energy that we have interviewed for this Practicing with Energy series. I'm not gonna lie, this has been the most complicated because he's been the most upset with his identity. Not only was the channeling difficult, but also everyday life was difficult because he was showing me things in my daily life and stuff like that. And yeah, I found it very difficult. I'm gonna read exactly what I channeled, like what he was saying, and then I'm gonna go into some more details. But this is kind of the way he was talking. So I tried really hard before I do this. I tried really hard to just do what I normally do, but he really didn't want me to look at certain things. So things were happening where I wanted to look at some research stuff, and he would make the thing go away and stuff like that, because he wanted a very specific way to do it. So once I kind of went with the flow, it got less complicated. He wanted to talk about witches and witchcraft. So witches, aka the white dude's creations, were made to take down spiritual women. These chubby patriarchal white dudes wrote grimoires, he calls them zoology books, and hired other chubby white men artists to literally demonize and therefore pull out some qualities that they don't like from existing gods and create the demons listed in their zoology type categorizations and say, this witch is consorting with this demon. And he said to me, he's like, the usual stuff where people are trying to make the infinite into finite things instead of respecting both for what they are. In our dimension and reality, most people are not aware of this. They might know, they obviously know of the witch trials, but they don't know the details. They don't know the impact. He says people don't know these histories to the fullest, and these grimoires that they're reading and practicing were written by, they think, people in our dimension, think by gifted, spiritual, magical people, and they start to label themselves as witches. Even though the name was given by the oppressors, the chubby white men. They wrote the recipe, they wrote the type of person, like what they do, all of that. They planned all of this. And it's not just in England and the US, it was in, like, there's some Dutch ones, there's some Italian ones, there's a lot. So being labeled a witch, and also in those times when they started to be labeled as a witch, or following what a witch is supposed to be like, creates a lot of behaviors that are trauma responses, he calls them. They become hoarders of energy. They attempt to bend infinity to whatever they want to bend it to, even though it's, it's been around before we even decided to do creation. Not before, always. Enslaving energies, things where they will say things like, they are better than a demon, or they're better than this person's energy, or they're more powerful than blah blah blah, which is not true, but that's how they feel. This is including even animals. They will put, there's some things that they did where they would put little frogs in as an example of an animal, and they would feed the frog blood and stuff because it's supposed to be blah blah blah. And it's just misconceptions of things that they don't need to do. Yes, you can do that, but do you need to do it? They think they do, and they don't. Basically, ownership of everything. It really messed them up, right? The women that could be doing something magical and priestess vibes, instead they're doing this. And obviously superiority, that's what happens when another person oppresses, a group of people. They end up wanting to feel like, oh, well, I'm not that bad. That kind of superiority happens. Like us versus them, that stuff. It still happens today in this dimension. And this is all really interesting because all these people who are falling to this are being labeled, they're labeled a witch, and they've labeled themselves a witch, but they're actually the cunning folk, or a priestess, or, all those different things where you're connecting with different energies. Like, they can be so many different things that they want to call themselves, but the witch is actually the oppressor's name. Even if they try to stay with their roots and they call themselves cunning folk or whatever, or a priestess, they still fall to this. Today, in this dimension, they still have these painful things, which you're going to recognize in this list. They become obsessed with cleaning energy, expelling energies, superiority over witches described by their oppressor because they didn't want to be unalived, ignorant of other vibrations of energies, only what they think is high and mighty and white magic, scrutinizing and judging other energies and vibrations, scrutinizing how other people do energy work, because come on, they're scared now, and they don't even think that everyone works together. They're all against each other, so they have to say who's better, right? If they did escape their oppressors in the other dimension past, they suffered great paranoia, and we still see this today. They still spread fear-mongering like they did then too. And now, right now, people are extremely confused about what harm means energetically. And they don't understand that not being able to live life with those things that you learn energetically or spiritually and bringing them to your life, and not being able to know where your reality is and live a full life, that is what's dangerous. Not these other things that the oppressor invented. When we invent things, we make things, but it doesn't mean that they're going to do the things that those oppressors said. We all can create stuff. We can create things that get rid of them. The zoology perspective. They started doing this categorization to get those magical women unalived. They needed credibility, so they needed to make these books. And it was very popular to do this with animals as well, like that people were discovering. But as we've seen in a lot of paintings in those books, they all look weird. There's ones that look like dinosaurs, and it was actually the description and information that they had based on what a giraffe is. And so they look weird, right? And now when we see it, people are like, oh, there's dinosaurs. No, they were weird things that they think they did their best, right? They're not the people who actually saw them. But in this case, since these women were doing energy work and all these different things, and they're from different cultures and different backgrounds, and they're doing it for community vibes and to help families, they were all doing different things. Some of them didn't even know who they're talking to because they're very natural. Some did. And so they had to find ways of research of spiritual things, of people talking throughout the world, including even sightings of things like it's complicated, like fae things, but we won't get into it because it's not the video. Eventually, some time went on after they made these books. They went into detail, and they ended up saying that it's all fake. And so then they started to put women in prison because they said that they're faking it. So people creating new things to filter things to get women in trouble now are saying that the women are fake. Now spirituality is full of people thinking it's a scam, or they're afraid, or it's fake. I'm going to quickly cover something that he said did actually channel pretty well, but people don't understand. So the titles of demons, like president, king, that kind of thing, shows where their energy was pulled from sometimes, because sometimes they get it wrong because it's just random humans, right? President usually means it came from a god job role, mainly because of the stuff we've been talking about, and Christians being scared of demon things in the medieval times, all that kind of stuff. King is usually from a human life. Sometimes an original energy, a piece of an original energy, but it's going to be complicated. The other ones are varied. Running out of time, look for part 2.